Hey again, YouTube. Today I've got the Steam Deck with me, and as you may have guessed from the title of the video, I'm not planning on keeping it. And so let's get into why that is. And before I do that, I'd just like to give a little disclaimer that I'm not in any way bashing the Steam Deck or not saying it's not worthy or valuable of anyone's money. It's just that through my experience, I have found that this isn't the right device for me. I'm gonna talk about why. And so first off, I'd want to say the issues I'd want to talk about were the hardware of the device. And so, construction wise, I'd say it's built pretty well. I had heard that initially from the original drops that the sticks were experiencing a lot of drift. And so, this is one thing that the Switch does have beat on the Steam Deck, which is kind of funny to say in regards to the Joy-Cons. Their Joy-Cons, as you may know on a Switch, have kind of a notoriety for bugging out and getting stick drift, but at least they're detachable. And these detachable controllers can be replaced, they can be fixed and whatnot. These are built into the device, these paddles and buttons and whatnot. They aren't removable controllers. And so people had been experiencing stick drift with the device early on and had no support. As of not so recently, but maybe too long of a time for people to wait after the Steam Deck being out, Steam released a support where they would accept Steam Decks through the mail and they would repair them and fix them, which of course has some turnover time and would leave you without a Steam Deck. But at least now they have the support. Another issue I would say probably the biggest issue I have with the Steam Deck's hardware is their battery life is very poor. And one of the main selling points of the Steam Deck was that you are able to run games on 60 FPS and you are able to change it from 30 to 45 to 65, whatever you'd like to. You could change the hertz and the refresh rate on the screen. And so running the game on its max capacity, max capabilities, I find myself only having about 1 hour of gameplay before the battery dies, which is abysmal to say the least. Of, let's say I'm out and I'm on the go and I'm trying to play this, or I'm waiting at an appointment, I've got an hour to play this. And so to circumvent that, I need to dial down the FPS from 60 to 30 to get maybe, I don't know, like an hour or two more of gameplay, which again is abysmal. You think about like game consoles since forever, their battery life was meant to go all night. I don't know how many nights I've had playing my Game Boy SP just under my covers for the entire night, or my DS, or even the Switch today. So with the battery life, it's very disappointing for something that was this expensive. And I would say that's another point that I'd like to get into was the price point that I paid for this. And again, not to say that the price point is unreasonable, but it does come in, as you may or may not know, three different price points. It comes in originally at its base for $400 at 64 GB, $529 at 256 GB, and $650 for the 512 GB variant. And that's what this one is. It also came with a special anodized, anti-glare, anti-scratch, etched tempered glass screen. Or not, I probably said more words than they had advertised, but that's the gist of it. It came with their exclusive carrying case, and it comes with my biggest thing that I had bought this one for was the bigger gigabyte storage capability. And so when I had seen this device release, I got very excited seeing it. I thought it was the coolest thing, and I bought one right away without doing any research. And as other reviewers might be able to tell you, if one were doing the research, that you might want to spring for the cheaper version of this. And so this video is kind of more so just built for people who may be thinking about getting a Steam Deck, and I would kind of try to steer them away from the experience that I had. And so from what I've seen, there are ways to get around the price point of this expensive one and still have the same experience. You could get the base price of the $400 and save $250 versus this one, and get just like a micro SD card or many micro SD cards. You could spend like $20. I've seen you can just get a 256 GB micro SD card that, that goes into here and will expand your battery life by that much, or gigabyte storage by that much. And for a $250 jump, not so worth it in my opinion. The glass screen, I have seen that people can just aftermarket just replace the screen. They can just get a OLED screen or whatnot, or just throw a screen protector on it and it will be anti-glare, anti-etch, anti-scratch rather. And the screen itself for this more expensive version, I've heard people say that putting a screen protector on it would dampen the quality of the screen itself, which intuitively one would want a screen protector for something that's expensive, not something that we want to have to switch back out and change. Another issue with the hardware, I would say, was their RAM. So playing games like Elden Ring, for example, this is why I bought it, so I'd be able to play it on the go. One of the games that was flagship advertised during their marketing campaigns and all that doesn't even run particularly well, in my opinion. I find it being very grainy. I get screen tears. It's low resolution, low field of depth of field rather, and I get bugged out a lot actually. Like I will start up the game to a black screen where I'll have to reset the game to get in. I'll get booted out of multiplayer. I'll get booted to title screen, or I'll even just get booted to the home screen of the Switch if the game just crashes completely while playing multiplayer, and I've experienced that a few times. So I'd say it plays games fine. Like I've played other games, again, older games, so I was playing them at 30 FPS pretty comfortably, like Dragon's Dogma. I had been playing on this perfectly fine, and I was pretty happy playing on it. But once I got into Elden Ring and I was trying to play online, I would say I had a pretty poor experience with it. So I'd probably stay away from competitive games playing on this, stick to your PC. And so that was more of a software issue. But again, with the hardware, a lot of the things that with the base one, the problems that it may have, you can get around those by doing modifications to it, which does void the warranty, which is not something I'd want to do with the most expensive version of this. But I've seen people just take off the faceplate, change the RAM. People would take off the screen and get a new screen. But right now, something you can't really deal with is the battery life, which is a big mishap on my end, I would say on their end. Also with their software. So like I said, they're able to play games relatively well. That's what it's meant to do. But they also do advertise that this can be used as a standalone computer. And so they have their own OS and an own browser mode is what they call it, desktop mode. And I would say that is incredibly janky. And also I've seen other reviewers say that to circumvent this, they need to go to third-party OSs. They'll have to boot their Windows or Linux or whatnot into this to override the Steam OS, which in my opinion is very unuser-friendly. It's very spotty, it's laggy, also prone to freezing and needing to restart the whole console. It's just not a great experience in my experience. And so I've also seen people say that this can be used for emulating or for downloading mods for your games. And just with seeing the browser and how it is, I can't foresee that being an easily accomplishable task without a lot of effort. I'm sure it's able to be done, just not for me is something I'm not interested in doing right now. Same for modifying the RAM or the screen. It, for the price point, just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And so not to say that this is a bad device in any way, shape, or form. I think it's actually pretty cool as a proof of concept. I would say I'm very excited to see what Steam and what Valve has next. And in the meantime, I don't think that I'll be keeping this version of the Steam Deck, this version 1. I kind of see it more as like a prototype, for lack of a better word. It's just not quite fleshed out and not quite there yet, ready to be sold for $650 in my opinion. And I'm sure they could do a lot more with the battery life, with all of the other complaints and all the feedback that they're getting. I would say Steam is a company that's very good on that. Just for size comparison, I'd say it's not too much bigger than the Switch. It for sure is bigger and much wider, for sure. Like, I can fit the whole Switch like within the little divots on the back. It's less flat than the Switch too. I noticed this Switch only has the back paddles on it, whereas this one lifts entirely off of the table. I would say this maybe is to circumvent the venting issue, which is another hardware issue I have. The vents are located here and here. And so after playing games on 60 FPS for maybe your 45 minutes of your hour, it starts to get very loud and it starts to heat up, reminiscent to that of a computer. And it just doesn't feel like it's capable of handling the games that it marketed that it was able to. And just seeing that was a little bit disappointing to me. I'd like to see something of this size have more capability because, of course, with the Switch, they recognize, because the Switch is the entire console. And so I'm sure they recognize that in this small package, they have to compromise power for utility, and which is what the main complaint of a lot of Switch users is that is not so powerful, it's not so beautiful, but they play to their strengths. These games, however, that you're going to be playing on the Steam Deck are not designed to be played on the Steam Deck, whereas these Switch games are designed to be played on the Switch. They're going to be designed to be played on top generation consoles, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, I don't even know what it's called, Xbox Series X, or PC. And just this bigger than the Switch, I would imagine it having more capability, more power. And I'm sure it does, but it just doesn't have enough and what it needs to be able to play the games that someone like me is going to buy this for to play. Again, very cool proof of concept. I love the thought that was put into the design. The pads right here function as D-pads or buttons or track pads, and so you can map these to be whatever you like. Any of these buttons, you can map them to be whatever you like on whatever game you're playing, which I think is really, really cool. There's also these 4 back paddle buttons, which are extra buttons that you wouldn't get on a controller, for example. Same for the track pads. So you're able to maybe turn your screen on this and then turn your character with this and set macros even for your back pads. So again, very well thought out for gaming. And again, the hardware just isn't quite there. Same for the software. And so this could be a little bit more developed before I would buy another one again. And so again, I'm very patiently waiting for Steam Deck 2 or Steam Deck 3, and I'd like to see what they come out with. Little side thing, little extra piece was the carrying case that it came with. Not anything too special, though this was something that was advertised in the 3rd tier of the Steam Deck to be an exclusive carrying case. To my knowledge, it isn't too much different besides some coloring and maybe the zipper pulls are a little bit different. And it was the material on the inside. And so flipping it open, you have the Steam Deck emblazoned branded microfiber cloth for the screen. And that's about it. It's got this little string that I'm not sure what is supposed to do. You know, does this go over the Steam Deck? And if so, it's not exactly a Velcro. It doesn't secure it down to anything. And kind of just poorly designed, in my opinion. It doesn't fit anything else in it besides the Steam Deck. And so it also, as you might have noticed, doesn't have a place for you to put the charger. It comes with a charger, but the charger is a pretty big thing. It is I believe a 40 watt or 25 watt, I believe it's 40 charger. And so this is a pretty substantial thing. It does have a little divot in it, like this little recess, to be able to put something in, presumably for the charger. But as one would quickly notice, you put the charger in, it doesn't really fit in there. And even when you get it in, jamming it in, possibly hurting the wires, it's not going to sit flush. It's not secure. There's no Velcro. There's no zipper or anything. It's just this little flap. And so I thought that was pretty disappointing. And there's no space for extra anything else. And so to circumvent that, I had to go and buy a third-party carrying case, which is a little bit bigger, but in my idea, way more well designed than the Steam Deck's original one. And so getting into this one, it opens, the other way. It has a nicer handle and all that. And this one was like $15 off of Amazon. I'll put the link down below. And this flap has pretty much what this one wants to be. It is supposed to seat over the face of the Steam Deck to cover it in transport and to, latch it down so it doesn't get scratched or bump around or get, hurt in any sort of way. It's also got a whole panel for micro SD cards. Let's say you do get the cheapest version of it and you just want to have a whole bunch of different SD cards for different games, for whatnot. You have this little slot right here that, that microfiber cloth could go into. And then opening it up, the main selling point of this was the inside compartment that they have right here. And inside of it right now, I have also from JSOX, a third-party developer, is a dock for the Steam Deck, which is something you may also have noticed that it doesn't come with. And so, let's not pretend. The main thing that the Steam Deck is trying to compete with is the Switch. And the Switch comes with, an HDMI, an AC port, and their own proprietary Switch dock. And this just doesn't. The Steam one that they do actually have released does not come with it, and it actually is like about $70. This one was, I believe it was like within the $10 to $15 range, and I'm pretty happy with this. It's got USB, HDMI, USB-C, and this is the one that plugs into the Steam Deck itself. And so with this third-party case, I'm able to put this in here. This doesn't come with the case, by the way, and I'm able to just barely fit the charger in there as well. Or was it like this? But it does all fit in there. Once I get it in, I'm able to close it down, put the Steam Deck into it, and it closes over like that. And this, in my opinion, is just a way better carrying solution. It is a little bit bigger than the other one, but this way I have all my things. You could even put an HDMI in there, probably you'd have the space for. It is a little bit bigger, but not by much. But if I'm going to be bringing something like this out, I at least want to be able to have my charger. Oh, and it also comes with this little pouch that, again, I'm not really sure what it's supposed to do or how helpful that really is. And so, yeah, a lot of things that it's missing, a lot of things that could be included, a lot of things that they can improve on. And so I'd like to see all of that in the future. I'm waiting very patiently to see. So again, not to bash on the Steam Deck or Steam or Valve or anything. This is kind of just a video for before you buy type of thing, and hopefully users seeing this will recognize the issues with the Steam Deck. Even the people who have the Steam Deck can maybe come together and agree that there are things they need to work on, and we could bring this as a community to Steam for them to improve on things. And it's just something that I would imagine all gamers would like to see, all people participating in Steam and using console gaming and handheld gaming and all that. And this is a very happy marriage of both of those things. It could be even supplementary to something like a Switch that only can play Nintendo games. This could play everything else. This was positioned to be the Switch killer, the console killer, the PC killer even. And I would say right now it just is not that. And I have high hopes for it. So thanks for watching. That's all I've got for today, and catch you guys next time.